we see a way to a Fed hike? We're 2 days away from the Federal Reserve releasing its minutes for the April meeting, the most recent meeting, to see if a June rate hike is on or off the table. And this morning, Richmond Federal Reserve President Jeffrey Lacker said, you know what? A case for a June rate hike is, quote, pretty strong. He is calling for it to be on the agenda. But right now, the Fed funds futures, the guys who make bets on whether this is going to happen, show only a 4% chance of it happening. Could outspoken Fed heads and a positive economic data price this week put it back on the table? How many rate hikes can we expect through the rest of 2016? What would it do to the markets and your money? Joining me now on a Fox Business exclusive, former IMF chief economist and Harvard University economic professor, Kenneth Rogoff. Great to have you.
My pleasure.
Let's take this one by one. Will we see a rate hike in June?
It would take phenomenal good news before that happens. They don't want to shock the market. You just said no one's expecting it. Like, if it was close, 40%, not 4%, but they don't want to shock the market. So there'd have to be, the employment report for June would have to be fantastic for May that we get at the beginning of June, and revising the old ones, saying they're even better than we thought they were, and other news. It would really take a lot at this point.
I'm hearing you say no.
Yeah, it seems very unlikely. It's not impossible, because stuff happens.
What would you expect, though, for the rest of the year? Do you see 2, 1? What do you think happens? And look, we know what happened in December when we saw a teeny quarter-of-a-point rate hike. Some experts say we should have been doing this much sooner and that we didn't. But what do you think happens, 1 or 2 more?
Well, I think at this point they need a lot of news to support having something happen sooner rather than later. Other things equal, they'd like to wait till after the election and not intervene. But on the other hand, if the news is really good, yes, of course they can hike twice. Of course they can do it in September. Of course they can do it in December. So we don't know how the economy is going to go. If you look at sort of how estimates by the Fed, by others, of where the economy is going, there's a lot of uncertainty around there. So don't rule out that it could happen.
Why do you think the perception right now is that the U.S. economy isn't going faster? In fact, it's going more slowly. Our most recent GDP print was just 0.5%. Does that start to improve? What's going on here? Why the slowdown from an already very somnambulent pace?
Well, I mean,
that's an SAT word. Let's just say slow. I mean, who am I kidding? Slow pace.
Either one. I'm not sure I can say the first. So, I mean, it could be that it's just been happening every first quarter for a while for things we don't understand. They're seasonals. They try to smooth things out, Christmas and other stuff, and just winter, and just maybe it's growing faster. I mean, if I had to bet, I bet we're going at 2% the rest of the year. And the question is that fast or slow? And I think right now, productivity's been kind of slow, so 2% might even be bringing a lot more workers into the workforce.
You've been you're an economic advisor of the New York Fed, correct?
I'm on the economic advisory board.
What does that even mean? I mean, would you, if they asked work at the Fed, would you all out go and be a Fed president if they asked?
I mean, to be completely honest, I love being a Harvard professor. It's a privilege to be there, and that's where I want to be.
What do you teach your kids, though? I'm so interested to know, as a professor, with all of your knowledge, knowing what we know about the economy and how it is now global, and we can't control what the European Union is doing, and that is a huge question mark. But what do you teach your kids about how to view this economy now? It's so much more than what we learned in college, which was guns and butter.
Well, it's a fun time to be an international economist, which I am. There are all these issues: the rise of China, the European Union, monetary policy. People care way more about than they used to. So the students get energized about a lot of the topics in a way that they might not have 30 years ago.
We actually have tried to make it understandable for our viewers, because the Fed does move the markets. Charlie Gasparino always says that here. He says if one thing moves the markets, it's the Fed. Before we go, do you think the UK leaves the European Union, and what will that do to the global economy?
Scarily close call, to be honest.
Really?
It's very tight. More likely they won't leave the European Union, but we're talking 70-30, 60-40. If it does, a lot of short-term volatility. I mean, I can't say what's right for Britain, but in the short run, nobody would like it.
This is great to have you. Will you come back?
Absolutely, a pleasure.
Ken Rogoff of Harvard. Boy, I bet your class is oversubscribed, right?
I enjoy my students.
He's so humble. Great to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.